Hey guys, and welcome to season 4 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host Savia Rocks, and in this season, we get to remember and reminisce back in time with some of our guests like...
Hey, we are Entity,
and you're listening to
the Us People podcast
with Savia Rocks.
Peace, my name is Oni. I'm a producer-engineer from Queens, New York.
Hi, my name is James Green. I'm a TV presenter, sports reporter and journalist.
Hi, this is Joy Langley and I'm the author of Navigating Stress.
Hey, this is Travis Glossop. I am a creative radio producer for Kiss FM and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
We highlight the strengths of our cultures, talking about diversity and inclusion, and speaking out loud and proud about who we are.
I was never that good. I was determined. I had a love for the sport, and that always fueled me.
At 49, I was seven years post-divorce after 22 years and 3 kids of a marriage. And so I knew that I needed to figure out what was happening for me and why was this such a severe sort of crack in my identity and how I showed up in the world.
It's great. I'm glad, because I'll be honest, I didn't really work that hard at uni, so it was good to leave uni and really get on it, really because I also, as a person, I think I value productivity. A lot of people live to work. I think I am one of the work to live guys, but because my work is amazing, that's all right with me. So as a person, I go to bed happy when I've had a productive day.
We've also saved the best till last by honouring another artist and showcasing their talent as our new theme song, with none other than your host, Savia Rocks, featuring in their song. So guys, enjoy, stay creative, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Let's go.
Hi, this is Kevin Kay, and I'm the owner of the Strategic Sponsorship Academy, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am abundantly humbled to not just have Kevin K on here once, but twice. Kevin K is the president of the Entertainment Sponsorship Group. If you would like to listen to our first interview, which is in season 3, it is a number 103, which is ironic because it's number season 3 103, which is so cool. I am so humbled, Kevin, to have you back on the show, and I'm sure people are going to be like, so why is Kevin back on the show? We're going to surprise you in a second to tell you why. But Kevin, how have you been? How has life been? And what have you been doing since we last were in touch with each other?
It's been a busy year, and between working on some big projects with the Entertainment Sponsorship Group and my other company, my artist management company, with the bands, we finished up an album. We're on single 2 right now. So it's been a busy year, and of course, I'll let you surprise your listeners with what we're going to talk about today, but that also took up a huge amount of time once I finally kicked myself in the butt and said, okay, let's get this done, because I've been working on this particular project since February, and really over the summers when I sat down and said, okay, we need to finish this. Mm-hmm. And that's what I ended up doing, and finally getting everything in line to launch this new project. So here we sit, it's launched. Now I'm in marketing mode and promoting mode. And so thank you so much for having me as a guest again. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with you here.
It sounds so cool. So I'm so happy to have Kevin K here with me, because the knowledge that he gives is so what we need, especially for artists, anybody who's creative and wants to dive in more into what they want to do in their life. So Kevin K has set up, and I've been looking at it and I've been going through it myself, an academy, right? An online academy, which every artist, I'm saying this, I'm actually promoting this from now. I'm going to let Kevin K talk about it a little bit more in more depth and more detail, and we're going to break it down because there are several different ones that you as an artist or a creative person can go into and learn from. So Kevin K has decided to do an academy which helps artists to develop themselves even more. But Kevin, could I kindly ask you to break down why, number one, you decided to do the academy itself, and what does it mean to you before we actually go into the depth of what's in the academy and breaking it down? What does it mean to you to decide to do this? And why did you decide to do this? What does it mean to you?
I decided to do this and create the Strategic Sponsorship Academy to help artists, managers, festival producers, independent film producers, booking agents, venue owners learn about strategic corporate sponsorships and the process of how to secure them. I got to a point where I really believe this is a skill set that needs to be learned. And it allows me to reach a greater number of people doing this than just taking on, certain projects. Being a small agency, the Entertainment Sponsorship Group can't take on a huge amount of projects.
Yeah.
So this allows me to reach so many more people. And I'm going to go back. It really is a skill set that needs to be learned. So if brand partnerships is of interest to somebody within these sectors, then I really believe that you should learn how to do this. And it should be a skill set no different than any other part of your marketing toolbox that you have as an artist or anybody in the industry.
Let's break down some of the packages because I've seen there's quite a few packages. Could you go through each package individually to let the artist or the promoter know, or anybody who's doing these courses, what they will actually be getting, but also how they will be educating themselves?
Yeah, there's two courses. Well, actually, there's three. I created a mini course, which is free. So if you
Yes.
enroll in the school, you can enroll into the mini course, and that is free. And what that does is give you a little bit of an overview about what this is about.
Yeah.
And then the other courses are the Strategic Sponsorship Strategy course, and then the Strategic Sponsorship Plan. So going through those strategies, it's really important to understand the process and what is involved before you put your plan together, and then having your plan in place, then to approach potential companies. So there's a process, and I broke it down in the strategy course. We talk about what is sponsorship and what it isn't. The difference between philanthropy
Yes.
and sponsorship, the difference between advertising and sponsorship. We get into talking about your brand and building your own brand equity, because it's really important for anybody, and especially for artists. And I've had so many conversations with artists who don't look at themselves as a brand,
That's true.
but you are a brand. And you really have got to make sure that you, as your brand, you have a solid foundation underneath you before you start talking to potential companies for sponsorship. And one of the strategies and one of the thought processes that you need is that it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's all about the company. Because if you've built your brand and if your brand is solid, what you're trying to do is help that company solve a problem that they have.
Yes.
And that problem might be a new product that they're looking to launch, a new service. They might be looking to change their image. They might be looking to tap into a specific target audience, which, as a music creator, you have your fans. So they might be looking to reach those particular fans of yours. And you need to show them how you can help them solve those problems through your music, through your film, through anything that you're doing from a creative standpoint. So sometimes it's really hard for a manager or an artist to, even when I'm consulting or talking to people, to tell somebody that it's not about you, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
It is about trying to help them. So, that strategy course really dives into so much about getting you into a position and an understanding, and not only your own brand, but really diving in and doing your research about potential companies out there.
Yeah.
Because the more you know about them before you approach them, you got to make sure that it is a good fit.
Yeah.
And the strategy process goes through so many different things to put you into that position, but it is really understanding and making sure that it's a brand or a company that's going to make sense for you to work with. And sometimes you might like a particular product or a service or a particular company.
Yeah.
But once you start doing your research, if you don't feel it's a good fit, you shouldn't go down the road. And one of the really important points that I want to make is that you got to be able to walk away from the money, because if that partnership, just because the money's there, if it's not a good fit, so many things can go wrong, and you will ruin so much, not only for yourself, but for that company as well. I mean, there's a lot of horror stories I can tell you about, where the, artist took the money and ran and wasn't really thinking about what could happen, and something bad happened. I mean, look, the greatest example right now is Jay-Z, right? I mean, here's a guy who just blew away hundreds of millions of dollars in sponsorship opportunities because he's, not being very smart in what he's doing. And I'll question the brands. Now, Adidas, look, okay, so they signed on with him over 10 years ago, before he was starting to, kind of derail. But the Gap signed on with him 2 years ago, and they knew exactly who he was. So I'm very curious. I sit here and I think, boy, I would love to have been in that meeting when they made the decision to sign with him. And how did they calculate the risk?
Yeah.
Knowing that he was already derailing, and how do you calculate that risk, and who signed off on that? I would have loved to have been in that meeting, and I would have said, no, you don't sign with him. That it's too big of a risk. But sometimes brands get so enamored, or somebody on the inside gets so enamored with a celebrity or an athlete, and they get rose-colored glasses, and they don't think things through of what it looks like down the road.
See, that's a good question, actually, because I find that a lot of people get really starstruck just to have somebody's name on their roster. Now, the question for you, Kevin, is how do you know when the right deal is being presented to you, especially if you're a new artist or even slightly established? Because sometimes we can be quite naive, and we all have somewhere in our lives been naive to something that we love doing because we're so passionate about doing our best and wanting to become our best within it. Can you tell us, or just from your experience, because I know you've got loads of stories, where do you feel, or how do you know when there is a good person to trust? How do you know when to sign that deal or go forth and do a deal with somebody?
Well, it's about building relationships too.
Yeah.
As you start this process, right? It's about understanding the people who are involved and getting to know them. Look, I mean, it is a long process, and it could take a number of conversations. And, it's not just, with an artist trying to deal with a big brand, because there are opportunities at all levels, and that's kind of one of the myths out there with a lot of, younger artists or artists starting out, or who think they're only, I hear it all the time. They think you need to be at a certain level to get a brand sponsorship. And that's not true.
Yeah.
You could do it at any level, artist. You really can, because it's not, and I know everyone has the idea, or so many artists see the big artists with the big brands, right? You got, Dr. Pepper, or
Yeah.
Pepsi promote, being a sponsor on, I'm just throwing this out there, Taylor Swift tour. You see the big brands tying into the big artists. You don't need, it's not just for the big artists. It can be for a young artist starting out, because there are many companies right in your own city,
True.
local companies that you could be doing sponsorships with. And here's a great example. Recently, there's a great blues artist here in Detroit, and she's been around for a very long time. And one of the big law firms here in town, this guy spends tens of millions of dollars on TV, literally a year. He runs so many commercials, it's insane. So I'm watching TV one night, and all of a sudden one of his commercials comes on, and wow, there's this artist. He's using footage of her performing. They're using one of her songs throughout the entire commercial. And I'm like, wow, man, who put this together? I'm guessing it was his ad agency who had the thought to say, hey, look, let's tie in, because most companies want to tie into the music and entertainment industry somehow, some way. And I say this all the time, the marriage between Madison and Vine, Madison being Madison Avenue, New York, the business district, right? And Vine being the creative area in Hollywood, that marriage wants to happen and happens every single day.
Yes, that's true.
So I'm going to guess it was his agency who came up with the idea and said, hey, look, she's got a huge following. Maybe it was an audience that they really wanted to focus on with her. How could they tie in with her, knowing that she is, a big artist here in town? And she's a local artist. She's not a national artist. I mean, she does perform, in a number of places nationally, but she's basically a local artist. And I thought it was brilliant. And that commercial ran, I would say, I can't even tell you how many times. So literally for almost 3 months, I would see it every day, numerous times. And I'm like, there's no way that artist has that kind of marketing budget.
Yeah.
To buy that amount of television. But I can only imagine what that did for her.
Yes.
From a PR perspective, hopefully from a product perspective, where she was able to sell her product, what it did for her notoriety. The other part of sponsorship is not just the money that comes in, and the money is potential, but it is the marketing reach. Because she was able to tap into all of his marketing, and it didn't cost her anything. But she could never afford to buy that kind of television. There's no way. But so her marketing reach expanded because of what he did.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of it. So doing it at a local level with a local artist, and these strategies work. I proved it, when my son was playing Little League football, American football, not soccer, and when we got him, when I got both my boys into that organization, and it was a very good organization, very hard to get into, very elite. Once we got in, I don't believe in fundraising anymore for youth organizations, because every youth organization out there has their hand out looking for donations. Right? I mean, there's so many of them looking for help. So I went to the first board meeting, I introduced myself to the president and told him who I was, told him what I did for a living. And I asked him, I said, if you create a board position for me as sponsorship director, I will do that. I don't want any help. I'll do it by myself, and I will eliminate all fundraising for this organization. So no parent ever has to go out and sell pizza kits or do bake sales or do anything to raise money. I will handle it by bringing in corporate partners to the organization.
That is cool.
And he thought I was crazy. He's like, you can't do that. I go, I can. I go, if you trust me and you create this position, and I'm not asking for any help whatsoever from anyone, just if you do this, I will put everything in place and I will take care of everything. And he agreed. And in the 5 years that I held that position, I brought in over $80,000 in sponsorship revenue for a youth football organization. and brought in a presenting sponsor of an entire organization for a multi-year 5-figure per year deal.
Whoa.
So the strategies that are in my courses work at any level. And then I took that same concept when my son went to go play high school football. I did the same thing. Went to the first meeting, met with the head coach, told him who I was, told him I'll eliminate all fundraising. No parent will have to do anything. I will do this if you allow me to. And in 3 years, brought in nearly $60,000 in sponsorship revenue just for the football program. They wouldn't let me leverage what I was doing with any of the other sports programs at the high school. It was frustrating. I could have done so much more for the school, but they didn't want me to. We just focused on football. And so I took that same concept. And for 3 years, no parent had to do any fundraising whatsoever.
I love that.
So it works. Just knowing how to do it. And, you got to be a salesperson too. But there's, and that's why, this is why. If brand partnerships are a revenue stream that you're looking to generate, then I believe this is a skill set that you need to learn. And it makes so much more sense because so many young artists out there don't have the money to hire an agency.
That's true.
Or even hire somebody like
that is true.
Right? It's going to cost you money to do that. And it's more cost effective for you if this is something you want to learn to learn this skill set. Unless you have money to hire a team and hire an agency to do this for you, I say learn it yourself.
That's so mad. I love the stories that you tell because they're so. One of the things that I do want to ask is in the course, and it's the free one. It's the first one, guys. If you go and look at, I'm gonna let Kevin actually break it down at the end of where you can go and get the courses. Have a look at the free one also. One thing that I do want to break down, Kevin, is the difference between sponsorship and advertising, because you speak about sponsorship and advertising and draft a brand strategy. Now, these are really important, right? And you give us an insight to them, but I would love for you to be able to please break them down in as much detail, because I feel it will give anybody who's coming in to do the course a more awareness of it, but also an understanding that I know that you want to have, that's why you've done this, but please break these down for us.
Well, advertising is just a static, right? You pay to just have that commercial run for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and then it goes away.
Yeah.
That's it. And, sometimes you can track it, sometimes you can't, depending on what you're looking to do.
That's true.
But that's where it ends. Where a sponsorship is a collaborative, integrative, experiential opportunity for you as the artist to work with this company, to help them with their objectives, to start conversations, and that's one of the big important things that sponsorship allows a company to do who's going to be a sponsor, is to further conversations and with the community, with the customers that they're trying to reach. And it could be your fans, right? That's who they're trying to work with. So how do you work together collaboratively and really create a partnership? And I go back and forth using the term sponsorship and partnership.
Yes.
Sometimes, sponsorship sometimes gets a very negative, view from people, because as soon as you say sponsorship, a lot of people have, you're just putting up banners or logos somewhere.
Yeah.
But if you do it correctly, it really is a true partnership, and you want to be able to work with that company, not just for that event or for that tour or for that specific year. Hopefully you want to do multi-year and really work with them, over a course of time. And that is a partnership. And really that's the difference between the two. It's an integrative, experiential opportunity where both sides, and I'll say really there's 3 dots to connect if it's done the right way. You want to make sure that the business, the brand that you're working with wins. You want to make sure that you win, and you want to make sure that your fans and the customers win. So it's a triangle. You got to connect all 3 dots. And how do you do that? That's why you build your strategy. That's why you put your sponsorship plan together. That's why you work with the company to understand what they're trying to do. And can you help them do that through your brand, your music, and everything that you're doing? And how do you connect the dots?
One thing I would love for you to do is I would love for you to tell, I know we spoke about it in the first podcast, but even if someone doesn't get a chance to listen to the first one thing that I would like people to connect with, so they connect with you, Kevin, is to understand a bit of your story of what you went through, because the knowledge you have is so detrimental to so many people in the world. But in order for them to know that, they need to know more about the lovely Kevin. So could you break down for me just a bit more about you, in the sense where what you had to do, your story, and how you've managed to adapt all your knowledge into these 3 different packages for people, but also what you feel has empowered you as a person to be able to do this?
Well, my career is definitely not a straight line. That's for sure. But it all does come together in a weird way. And
Oh,
I started. Okay, I'm from Buffalo, New York, and I started I'm a musician, so I understand what artists are going through. I went through the whole process, played for many years, tried to get signed, tried to go down that road, and really came to a realization that it probably wasn't going to happen. And that was okay, because I was already starting to get intrigued by the business side. And that's when I made the decision to stop playing and go on to learn about the music business. And I had a legal background. I was working in the law firm as a legal assistant, being a musician. I was going to go to law school, but wasn't sure that it was right for me, and
yeah.
really felt that learning the music business was the way to go. So, enrolled back in school, got my degree in music and entertainment management, and was fortunate enough to start working at Chrysalis Records right away. And, I moved over to Polydor Records, and I had a great career. At Polydor, then went to Island. I was at V2 Records when Richard Branson started that up. I was at Mercury Records, had the opportunity to then go to DreamWorks Records and spent 3.5 years there, which was by far the best experience I had. And that's really where, when I was at DreamWorks, is where I really believe that brand sponsorships were necessary for the music industry. And it was a time when the music industry really wasn't going down that road whatsoever.
That's true.
But the way I looked at it was, here we were, an independent label, even though DreamWorks had probably more money behind it than the major labels, given our owners, Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen. But we were a label that was only going to sign new artists and really develop them. We were not going to sign any big name artist. And even though every big name artist who was ever at Warner Brothers and Reprise who wanted to come to DreamWorks because of Mo Austin and Lenny Waronker, who were running DreamWorks at the time, they declined. And they really wanted to create something from the ground floor and do it from an artist development perspective.
Okay.
So much so that we were given the time and resources to do that. And if it took us a year to work a single, we did that. I mean, Nelly Furtado, Lifehouse, Papa Roach, Buck Cherry. I mean, every artist that we were doing to get to number one would literally take us a year of working one single. So I had friends of mine, a good friend of mine who I went to college with, and she had her own sponsorship company. And I, would always pick her brain, and she would tell me what was going on in that world. And as I started to try to understand it, I just thought to myself, well, good gosh, the sports industry generates millions of dollars in revenue and sponsorship, and yet has these huge marketing platforms to expand what they're doing through the big brands that they're working with. And I thought, well, why couldn't we apply that same concept and thought process here at DreamWorks? Because we're all new artists. We didn't have any leverage with big artists. We needed to generate, another source of revenue, but more importantly, further our marketing reach. And after many, many conversations with Mo and Lenny and Johnny Barbas, who was the president, they finally agreed to let me develop that for the company.
Yeah.
And that's where I really started to define brand partnerships in the music industry. And, sadly, though, DreamWorks sold and that went away.
Yeah.
I when that was starting to happen, I started my company, the Entertainment Sponsorship Group, and brought DreamWorks aboard as my first client to help me launch everything that I was doing. So, I got to work on a few small projects with, for Dreamers for some of the artists, but it all went away. And when that happened, then I just dove right into doing what I was doing, and I've jumped back and forth. The Entertainment Sponsorship Group has been around since 2002. And not all the time, sometimes it was on the sidelines because I got pulled back into the music industry. I went to I went to Virgin Records, spent 3.5 years there doing, kind of a hybrid marketing brand partnership person. I got sucked in, I went to the agency side. I worked on big global digital music initiatives for General Motors, tying in brand partnerships for them. Worked on Clear Wire Communications, same thing. Went to Nashville, started up their sponsorship division at Sony Music Nashville, was the first national director of strategic partnerships there. I've worked for, festival owners and, then would bring back the Entertainment Sponsorship Group. So, sometimes there's an opportunity that gets presented to yourself that you're like, okay, this sounds interesting. I can put my company on the sidelines just for a time being and let's go try this. So, it's been around, it stays, it's in and out. And that's really a little bit about, my background as to how I've come to do everything and where I am today. And, you asked me, why did I really want to do this? And I look back on my history, on my experience, my background, and a big part of me, I really feel at this point, it's time for me to start to give back. And how do I give back? That's by teaching. And well, the one thing I did forget about, which I know we talked about this in the past, I was the chair of the music business and entrepreneurship department for a music college here in Detroit for 3 years. Detroit Institute of Music Education. So I was the first chair of the department. I was an adjunct professor and taught for 3 years, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, so much so that I really felt I might have missed my calling to be a teacher. And now I look back at all that. I'm like, okay, now I can do it. I could do it differently. I could reach a lot more people doing it digitally online, creating these courses. And it's a way for me to give back. And that's, for me, very important right now. I want to help as many people as I can. Like, I've been fortunate. I've been privileged in many respects to do what I've done and to work with the artists that I've worked with, work at the labels I've worked at. And I'm very happy and proud of the things that I've done. And now it's time for me to start to teach and give back and show the younger artists or anyone in these industries that this is a viable marketing platform and can be a viable source of revenue.
I like that. I like the way you broke that down. That's a really beautiful way of actually breaking it down from where you've been to where you are now. But one of the things that I would love to ask you is results. So when somebody decides to do one of your courses, just from hearing everything that you said, the strategies that you have put in place for other organizations, and someone that decides, you know what, I'm going to do Kevin's course. I'm not saying give me a fixed time, but I'm just saying, when do you feel after doing your course that you feel a person or a band or anybody who decides to do it will start to see some results from it? Do you have anything in your mind that you would like to share of when you feel a person doing the course, when they pull it into process and they start processing everything that they've learned? When do you feel that they will start seeing some kind of results?
I mean, that's really hard to answer, only because it takes time to go through this.
Of course,
and
naturally.
Just like, you got to be able to sell too. The other part of it is, and once you start contacting companies, now you got to try to show them and sell them on why they should work, why they should do this sponsorship. And I'll be honest, you're going to get a lot of no's.
Of course. Oh, yes.
For every 100 no's you get one yes.
Oh, yes.
Right. But I know artists, I know creators, you're resilient. You understand how to let the no fly right off your shoulder, and you just keep going. And yeah, there's no magic wand. And the other part, in the sponsorship world, there are no guarantees either.
That's true.
Just because, and I tell people this all the time, just because a company looks good on paper to you does not mean that it's the right fit. because their objectives and initiatives might not fit with what you're doing, or it doesn't make sense, or they don't have the budget, or they don't have the personnel to execute this. So these are all things, and these are, you'll learn about this as you start having conversations with these companies and learn about them. And you know what? If they can't do it now, you thank them and say, hey, can I come back next year to you, or when we have something new coming, foster those relationships with people, because that's really important. Just because they say no doesn't mean you completely close the door on them.
Exactly. That
Make
is
sure
true.
that they're understanding, if you have their email address, keep them updated on what you're doing. If you have a show in town, and even though they said no, invite them out.
Exactly.
Let them experience a show and let them be immersed in everything you're doing. Sometimes that changes everything. All of a sudden they go and they're like, wow, look at all these people here. Look, oh, this is our target audience. This is what we're doing. I really like the music. Oh, and then you're fostering that relationship. All of a sudden you could change people just by doing those little things. So just because a no is a no doesn't mean that door is closed. You keep that door open as much as you can and build that relationship with that individual, because they could come back to you, or, you can go back to them.
I like that.
Too many people get upset by the no, and they're like, well, screw those guys.
I've heard those before. I've heard those before.
No, don't do that. Keep it going. Look, how many, as an artist out there, how many times have you been told no? But you keep going, right? You keep going as a creator, as an artist, as a manager, as a booking agent. Venue. Anything in these industries, you've been told a lot. You've been told no a lot.
Yeah.
We all learn, your definition of success in this industry is determined by how you handle the word no.
That is true. You know what? That is
right?
that
Because
is your
if
title.
you give up, when it says no, guess what? You're not going to be successful. And it doesn't matter what level you're at. There's stories out there of the biggest artists in the world being turned down, and how many no's before something happened.
That is so true, Kevin. I remember a time where I wanted to work in a music publishing company, and I think I may have told you this before, but it meant a lot to me to work in there to gain the knowledge that I've always wanted to. And back in the day, I'm sure you remember this too, where you had to write letters. There weren't much emails going around back then. You literally had to write letters and send them out. So I was doing that, and then I got a reply back, and it took me, no word of a lie, I think 113 letters. It was something like that. I remember the number, until I got one person to turn around and say, "We're bringing you in for an interview." And that was the time I thought, you know what, I'm going to go in and do my best, regardless of how it turns out. I'm just going to do my best. And long and behold, I got the job. But it takes a lot of no's. And that makes you stronger. That doesn't make you weak. No's don't make you weak, guys. It makes you stronger. And I'm sure Kevin will understand what I'm trying to say here when I say that to you. And it also makes you wiser. It also makes you build strength and a strategy of how you actually want to do things for yourself, and build a brand, as you know, for yourself. Kevin, I have only a few more for you, but one more would be, what is the one main thing that you would like anybody to take away from these courses that you have gone nuts on and given so much information and knowledge on? What is the one thing that you would like people to take away from them?
Well, I want them to feel empowered and enlightened and knowledgeable that you can do this, and that it is possible to do this. It happens every day, and I really want to stress that you can do it at any level that you're at as an artist. Don't be afraid and think that you can't. We talked about the examples that I personally did. We talked about the artists here in Detroit. These opportunities happen, and it's not necessarily always trying to, hit the big amount of money, because What if you're a local artist and you talk to two different companies and they both want to sponsor you, and say each sponsorship is $2,500? Well, that's $5,000 you just brought in,
Exactly.
to start working with, these potential companies. I mean, so it doesn't, please don't look at, thinking that you have to hit this big grand slam and try to get this $100,000 sponsorship right away. You work and build it up, just like I did with the football organization. You got to understand your brand. Okay. With the football organization, I knew, I had a finite, right, amount of kids playing, a finite number of girls being cheerleaders.
Yeah.
I looked at, where our geographic area was, the other teams that we played, and for that presenting sponsor, he was a car dealership and he was looking for an opportunity to start to market to people in the area where we were based.
Yeah.
It was marketing. He had never really marketed to this area and he was looking for an opportunity. And what greater way than to really entrench himself and show these families and these kids and help them out. I mean, so the loyalty that came out of it, the families who bought cars from him, I'm still a customer of this guy.
Hey.
After all these years, I'm still a customer, and as I've only been buying my automobiles from him. He treats me like family. He's so appreciative of everything that I did for him. I'm very appreciative of everything he did for the organization. I brought him aboard to my son's high school as well. So, him and I have had this great relationship for oh gosh, how many years now? 14 years, 15 years. And, it's been great. So it's about fostering that relationship, and I helped him. He has helped me. And that's what it's all about, right? Creating that partnership. And that's kind of what we've done. That's, what I really want people to understand is that you will be empowered. Look, with anything, it's going to take some time. It really is. But you can't get upset. You can't get, down on yourself. And, as you said, a no, you can gain a lot from a no.
Exactly.
I mean, really finding out, like, okay, if it's a no, you can ask the company or the person you speak, what are your objectives for this year? Is it not aligning with us? How do I, help me learn more about you so in the future I can come back to you. So that's your opportunity to start to learn about companies and build a relationship. I mean, like I said, if they don't come, but you build a relationship with them and maybe they come to one of your shows, and down the road, look, and I think I've said this before, two of the statements that I've came up with and I've lived by my entire career, and it really applies especially to the brand sponsorship world. Frequency breeds familiarity.
I like that.
And consistency breeds credibility.
I like that too. And
over time, I've added patience to that mix and creativity. And if you do all that, it will equal success.
I like that.
And it's not just in the sponsorship world, but you can really apply that to anything you do in life.
Most definitely. Do you know what? I think I've got the title for this show. You've just said it just there. That is so cool. Kevin, I would love for you to be able to tell everyone where they can find your course and be able to start doing it.
Yeah, it's HTTPS, go through that, and then it's strategic dash sponsorship dash academy.teachable.com.
Right.
And I think I sent you the link. Hopefully you can post that for everyone.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I said, and as as we talked about, there is a mini course which is free, which gives you kind of a, introduction and kind of a feel about, what this is. And, please enroll, sign up, see if it's for you. And, we have the course, we have the two courses. You can purchase them individually. You can purchase them together. There's there's one-on-one coaching opportunities that you can purchase where you get time with me. And that's part of the bundles too. So you can get both courses and an hour of coaching.
That is cool.
Or if you're just, and look, some people might have had experience in this world already. And maybe they want to just do coaching and talk with me, and maybe they got questions, or how do we, maybe they want to help define with what they're doing. I mean, there's different opportunities within the academy. And as it grows, I'll be creating more courses for the Sponsorship Academy. And I've already started to think about creating a music business academy as well, because I'm going to take all my experience in the music business world, and I interject that into the sponsorship world because we're focusing on the music and entertainment industry. So I do dive into that even, a little bit, especially about building brand equity and, your strategy plans and things that you need to do as an artist or anyone in the industry. But look, I have all this experience and things that I have done from the music business side. It's time to start giving back to that as well. So down the road, there will be a music business academy. I haven't named it yet. I'm just starting to think about it. I need to, with this one just launching, the focus is on the Strategic Sponsorship Academy and how we grow this and how we build this and really create a community for everyone to start to learn about this.
Guys, you have to watch this space, because I know I'm going to do that academy. I know I'm definitely going to do that academy, guys. If you do want to listen to Kevin K's previous interview, please remember you can do that. It is on season 3 and it's 100 free, guys. It's called The Sponsorship is Always Changing. I've titled it that because it definitely caters to Kevin and what he does and how much he loves to give back to people. So Kevin, this is where I say to you, thank you so much again for coming on the Ask People podcast, for giving us your knowledge, your kindness, and most of all, your patience. Guys, you can't see Kevin, I can, but he is so chilled out in his chair and he looks so relaxed. It's such a refreshing thing because you don't get that from many people all the time now. So Kevin, thank you so much for taking your time to share your time and knowledge with us. I really do appreciate you once again.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be a guest, and anytime you want me on, I'm more than happy. Because guess what? Savia Rocks.
And on that beautiful note, guys, I'm going to say to you, thank you so much. She's cracking up. Thank you so much for listening to the Ask People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Ask People podcast by simply going to the Savia Rocks website or just typing in paypal.me/Us People podcast. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please
protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind, peace of mind. I need a solution. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with her. Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with confusion. Yeah, I'm done. I need a solution. Peace of mind, peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind, peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind, peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. I protect my energy and peace of mind. Gotta keep my energy and peace of mind. Peace of mind, peace of mind.
People say that having a peace of mind is trying to find a consistency of calmness within ourselves, to crave for a clarity that drives us through our emotional journey of life, to never let a person's judgment manifest into a fear inside of us, learning to believe in our ability to shine through the darkest moments and tunnels when we cannot see the light. Patience being our light for forgiveness and strength, to believe in our destiny. If you want real peace of mind, one needs to stop fighting their inner thoughts and embrace them with love, because love is the most amazing and beautiful strength that we have to conquer our peace of mind.
Make your thoughts impact a nation by keeping them true and honest, especially to yourself. But make your peace of mind protect you when you don't have strength to embrace anything else. Find your peace of mind by listening to your heart.
You know, it's like, it's so funny you brought up writing letters, and I was just having this conversation with somebody about, networking and the importance of doing it. And, I even tell my sons all the time, I go, you guys got it so much easier, because when I was trying to get in this business, it was like you ask for somebody's business card, and then you have to go home and write them a letter, right? On a typewriter, right? So you got to get an old typewriter, right? So you get on an old typewriter. You still got one? Oh my gosh. And you got to mail it, right? And then it takes like 7 days, and then you got to wait for them to hopefully respond back, and that could be another 14 days. And then then hopefully you can call them at that point, and yeah, it would take forever just to start to build a relationship in the old days.